much for this wonderful invitation. The main mandate of our office is to be what I would call the eyes, the ears, and the voice of our organization at the United Nations in New York. We are the advocacy and the lobbying for our issues, which are around science, culture, education, and communication, which are not necessarily always integrated in the UN agenda, which is more either poverty or peace building. It's an interesting link because it goes without saying at the local community and in everyday life when people work and live and eat and think, it's obvious that they link the resources they need like food or water or energy with the cultural knowledge they have of the same resources. But it's interesting that when you get to the level of the national governments or the international organization, those issues are often divided. They don't go together. So what we're doing really is bringing, I would say, a reality check to the United Nations by reminding the member states of the connections in everyday life and also in the development agenda, the importance of maintaining cultural and biological diversity in order to sustain development and for people to own these agendas. Cities generally have a very bad name when it comes to the environment, and even historically in some places socially. They are considered the place of pollution and the place of crime and the place where people conflict with each other. What we want to do is turn this image around, and in an era where most of the people on this planet now live in cities by choice, and more of them will be moving to cities, including in poor countries, in developing countries. We want to show that urban areas are actually places of opportunities, research, innovation, and those are the necessary ingredients to tackle today's challenges such as climate change, inequity, inequity of access to resources, and also tensions between different ethnic groups. The cities are the places where really you cannot afford to have different people in different places in isolation of each other. People have to live with each other. And by nature, cities bring people together, sometimes violently and sometimes less so. But there are places where you have an incentive for looking for solutions. And so this initiative aims at bringing urban areas, not just cities, but reconnecting cities with their hinterland and the rural and the natural areas, so that to show that there is no divide, there is no urban-rural divide, it's really one world. I think it's a very interesting and thought-provoking idea. First, because languages are something that you would think are rather immaterial, so it's interesting to the idea that you would capture language in a place. It's intuitively contradictory, but I think it's a beautiful idea because what we forget is that we are losing languages and knowledge every day. So the idea of a museum where the word museum comes from the word memory in Latin, and that's very suitable to language. It's to remember where we come from. Languages help us remember our roots, our cultural roots, but they also help us evolve and adapt to today's challenges because languages adapt all the time, they change. And that's the very interesting part of this museum. It's not just for the memory, but it's also the living, keeping the living memory of people and helping people moving forward in their diversity. So I find this a very intriguing idea. I'm sure it's very challenging because of the very nature of languages being so mobile and changing around the world. It will force you to be really on your toes all the time and updating your museum. It's not as if you can put languages in glass cases and keep them there forever. But in the age of the internet and the information technology, I think it's very possible to have this.